Oh, we've got some really, really badass speakers. I'm like pinching myself because it's so awesome. Every one of these sessions are incredible. We start off with the amazing Charles Eisenstein, opening with a session called A More Beautiful World of Parenting, Education, and Family Life. And it was a very deep and profound, like just that one session alone, I think you'll find it worth it. You know, we explore so many things, like what is this new paradigm of education, and also unpacking the old rewards and punishment model, where we're extrinsically motivated by rewards and punishment. And what does that do to our orientation of life? And who are we if we're not motivated in that way anymore? Who are we more authentically? Like, what is this more beautiful way of being a human that is arising out of it? And the fact that the conversation seems to be about education, but it's tied to all of it. You can't just
like this conversation.
You can't just change education. It's not like, oh, you're just going to do all the life the same and then boop, you're like homeschooling now. No, it's going to ripple into your entire relationship with your kids, and then with your community. Your career choices are going to change. You're going to do life differently. You know, so he takes that that's how the conversation starts, and I share more deeply about the 6 phases of transition that we're all going through right now, and the shift in human consciousness that is being expressed, and as a side effect of that, what happens to education, parenting, and community and village life. All of that is contiguous. And then we've got very specific experts talking about Dr. Peter Gray. He's the author of a very famous book called Free to Learn. He's like a legend in the alternative education movement, all about giving children the freedom to do self-directed play-based education, and how most of what we think is play is not real play. It's like an adult being like, here, kid, have fun in this very specific way, using these tools only. You have to play it like this. And he's like, you know, kids might find it fun, but they wouldn't call that play.
Real quick, there's this like running joke in my family. We were at a lake on the border of Missouri and Arkansas, and we were kind of in the backwoods of Arkansas near the shore of the lake on a boat. And there's this family playing, and this dad yelled at the kids, and he was like, "Get your ass out there and play!" And just like threw a ball.
Yeah. It's like have fun at gunpoint or something. You know, like, I mean, you just have to have once you start waking up to all this stuff, you're like, we're so silly. Like, it's so silly how we've been doing all of this. There's much more natural, fluid, and joyful and fulfilling way to do the whole thing, you know? And so then we have a whole session with a few speakers talking about the new children. Like, they have a certain characteristics. They're super sensitive, intuitive, multi-dimensional, and awake and aware. And we have my good friend John Chavez, who's a DMT and human potential researcher, talking about brainwave patterns. How super, like, what is that monk, Matías Richard, who's considered like the most happy man alive. He's a monk that they've studied his brainwaves, and they found that he has huge surges of gamma, the insight, intuition, eureka moment kind of brainwave patterns. He can on command produce that. But John's research shows that children naturally have peaks of gamma brainwave patterns at age 5. And that's associated with near-death experiences and insight and intuition and downloading cosmic wisdom and having like universal source access to flows of
and that sort of adds clarity to how your son around age 4 to 5 started speaking on those things. And my son, as I was sharing with you before, some of the things that he said, he just turned 5.
Exactly. John's contention is that from his research, all these monks that meditate a lot and can hone this ability, it doesn't have to suddenly crash. That access to the gamma brainwave pattern could be nurtured throughout our education process. The reason the research shows that it starts dying down at age 5 and then gets really low in adulthood is because of the government indoctrination camp system that we have that takes us constantly out of that state and makes us have a disproportionate beta brainwave pattern that is all focused on like do, go, do little workbooks. And so what are we really missing out on? We're missing out on these beautiful human possibilities. And the big inventors he shows all these examples of inventors who do so much to try to re-access that insight, intuitive state to download inventions and creative solutions to the problems of the world, we could have just not squashed that possibility to begin with in our education system. So that's a very potent conversation to look at. How can we think of our education as an environment that nurtures human consciousness and human possibilities, not just a system of creating obedient factory workers, you know? And then we move on to have some speakers that have potent memories from ancient civilizations and future visions that they bring in, such as Matías de Stefano, who has conscious memories of Atlantis and Sirius, but he has his degree is in education and pedagogy, so he has a lot of eloquent things to say about it. Our friend Gabriel Miguel, the founder of Anastasia Foundation, he did the most, it may be my single favorite session in the whole series. He did the most powerful presentation about the Anastasia and Ringing Cedars vision for education.
Have you read that series yet?
Oh yeah, I read it years ago, but I'm going through it again because it's so powerful. It's a new time right now that these possibilities are actually happening now. Like people are actually getting land and actually learning to create these communities like this. So the Anastasia model of education, they've got the kids being free to come and go as they please. They do go to a school, but the kids build their own schoolhouse, and these schoolhouses look like sacred temples, and the kids can learn something like 10 or 11 years of curriculum in 1 year, totally self-directed and self-motivated. They do Wim Hof ice dunks, and they grow their own food, and they actually like build projects and do bookkeeping to run the school and all this stuff. And by the time they're 17, if they want, they already have a master's degree. You know, this is what happens if you like take the limits off these children. And so I think there's not one right way to do it, but it's so helpful to have all of these speakers showcase different possibilities of what is trying to emerge right now. And Penny Kelly is a woman who wrote this book called The Robes that some of your audience might know about. Back in 1980, she had a spontaneous spiritual awakening, and these beings started showing her rapid visions of the future of humanity, including this period of time we're in right now of rapid change. And she was shown in rapid sequence how families and communities and society changes all the way up to the year 2413. And so she shares in her book, The Robes, but in our conferences, she shares a lot more detail about how the future paradigms of education, family life, and village life, how does that unfold? Because she was already shown all these visions before. And she was shown it in 1980, I think. She wrote the book in 1991, I want to say. And so there's been decades of a lot of the stuff that she was shown has already come to pass, and she's just an eloquent speaker and teacher of human consciousness. And so she has 2 sessions that are very powerful. And then we've got Sajady, who I've already talked about, Dayna Martin, who's a famous unschooling pioneer. In this session, last year she told us about unschooling, but this year it was all about the inner work part of it, the inner work of being this type of parent and educator. What does it take to be so present and authentic with our kids that we don't need all these coercive rules anymore, right? Like you might notice that if you're tired or cranky, you flip-flop back to the old tyrannical paradigm.
Yeah.
Right? So it takes inner work to be present with your kids. And so what is that? What is the process and the journey that we're all going through as parents and educators right now so that we can be fully present with our kids and allow them to be fully themselves, you know? And then Dr. Bear Lando.
Love that guy.
We went deep.
He just looks like he just like exudes energy of a wise old sage.
Yes.
Just brilliance and wisdom just jam-packed in his brain.
Yeah, so he homeschooled his kids, but he was like, you know, it was really great because he wasn't part of all these like movements, like these terminologies. He's just like, just do you. You do you. You know, what does that look like? So the conversation is much more about who am I? Who am I? And as a natural side effect of really knowing yourself deeply, a different kind of education path and family life emerges out of that. you know.
Wow.
And it might look like a very holistic type of curriculum, right? But it's not about the curriculum. It's about a realignment and reorientation to who you really are on a deeper level. And then you relate as I am to I am, high self to high self with your kids. A different set of physical actions will emerge out of that as a side effect. And then we finish the conference with these really badass moms all around the world that are building new earth villages and learning communities, just to showcase some examples of it's already here.
So cool.
There's really successful models of groups of families coming together. They're like, okay, it's a new time. Let's figure it out. There's no handbook, but if we bring our hearts and minds together, we can figure it out. Let's do it, you know? So
incredible, because you've probably shown that all of them have variations and they're in different locations with different, styles, but it can be done nonetheless, regardless of where you are.
Yeah, one of the speakers, Melanie Williams, she's 3 years into it. It started with 2020. She'd already been homeschooling her kids. And like all these people in the community, they're like, what's going to happen? We can't just have our kids just sit at home and do Zoom school all day. So she had 13 kids dropped off at her house and she started homeschooling them. And she was busting at the seams. And this like-minded church pastor in the community was like, do you want to move your school to the church? Because Monday through Friday, the church is just vacant. Why don't you bring all the kids here? And then gradually it evolved into her bringing resources from the community. Wow. The community all started coming together, and they have, listen to this, they have 0 traditional teachers. So they just have a chiropractor teaching anatomy and physiology, a real-life zoologist teaching biology, a retired finance guy teaching math, right? Like real people, wow. Awesome people that you love your kids to be around. And her requirement is that you don't have to have any teaching experience, but you have to be passionate about your topic, exude enthusiasm, and just be good with kids. And then just figure it out. Let's just figure it out. Everything is figure-outable. And through that, she's created this amazing bringing together the community, and all the families support each other's businesses and so on. So we're trying to do something like this with our village here in Northern California, of all supporting each other's families and businesses and helping each other out with the kids. And but she's taken it to a whole other level with her school that's not a school. She calls it a learning haven.
Learning haven. That sounds so much better than school.
And there's a similar community in Santa Cruz, California, where they're doing like sacred geometry and crypto classes, and the kids are coming together and doing like a pop-up kitchen entrepreneurial project. So they have a lot of project-based learning, and it's just like whatever so it's more unschooly kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like, I just want to showcase all these exciting models so that people give themselves permission to play and express a really diverse array of possibilities, and whatever works for your family and community is trying to emerge through you. Like, I think we can all feel that there's something really beautiful that is wanting so badly to birth through us right now. So let's give ourselves permission, and let's support each other and uplift each other to do what we came here to do.
I'm sold. I'm out. I'm going right now. This conversation has been incredible. I'm really like at a legitimate loss for words on, how to end this. This has been awesome, Dr. E. But I would expect nothing less with you. So thank you so much for being a part of this. And please go check out luminousrevolution.com for those who are listening and watching. You have a break until the next session, so please go check it out. Thank you so much. Is there anything you'd like to share to close out?
I just want to honor the audience that is tuning into this. I know that we've all done a lot of inner work to get to this point where we can celebrate the full possibilities of what it is to be a human. So I want to thank you and congratulate you. You've really earned this moment in time where we've reached a tipping point where we can really focus our energies now on building the beautiful solutions that's birthing through all of us. So I want to thank you guys and honor you guys for all that you've done to get all of us to this point, this juncture in time where we can really start focusing on solutions and let go of the old world and birth the more beautiful new one.
Amen. Thank you so much, Dr. E.